founder of Physician Presentence Report Service. I'm a physician prison consultant. But back in 1983, 1953, I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I've enjoyed over the years most of my time spent on or near the water. I've enjoyed both power boating, but mostly sailing. From Philadelphia, I went to undergraduate school at George Washington University, getting a BA in psychology in 1977. And then from there, I went to the Ohio College of Podiatric Medicine, getting my doctorate in both foot and ankle surgery. And around the 1983 is when I graduated. While there, I also was an extern at Lutheran Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland in 1982, as well as Atlanta Hospital Medical Center in 1982 also. And those were great experiences. My residency was at Lawndale Community Hospital, where I did a surgical and medical residency, both in podiatric medicine and surgery. And I've been licensed for foot and ankle medicine and surgery since 1985 to current. So my license is current and active. While when I first opened up, I had a small amount of teaching experience where I was utilizing a circulator boot treatment for those that have lower extremity wound or peripheral vascular disease, essentially where their blood flow did not get to the extremities, be it at the end of their lower legs and foot. And so the circulator boot was a method of treatment that addresses the core elements of lower extremity wound therapy, which is bacterial control, increased blood supply, moisture, and then at the same time removing dead or damaged tissue to promote healthy healing. Boot therapy was used when all other options failed. The goal is to keep the person from having an amputation. I also assisted to a small degree in residency training at Broad Street Hospital in Philadelphia, as well as St. Mary's Hospital. Past certifications and training have been in wound care management and laser and endoscopic procedures. So after 30 some years in surgery and in medicine and just seeing patient care, I started hearing rumors. It was crazy. I had patients that I've worked on a number of times. They came in to my office and they said that the FBI was asking questions, and I thought that was nuts. And then I had another patient that came in and he asked me the same question. And both these patients I did surgery on, both of them showed the FBI agents their scars, the surgical boots, the cam walkers, everything that I had done to them, verifying that I'd done the procedures. Then I got a visit, and they call it the alphabet agencies. Basically, everybody showed up one morning at my door at 6 a.m. FBI, state police, county police, the board of medicine, representatives, and pretty much I did everything wrong going from that point on, because I just was in a constant state of panic. I wasn't a great client. I had a corporate law firm for the corporation, and the part of the charges was that I was billing for surgical suite type facilities before the suites were certified. And so the attorney was, great attorney, a very nice guy. But I don't remember, as friends of mine would later tell me, that they, provided referrals for me for very good criminal defense attorneys. And it was just, to me, it was all white noise. And to this day, I don't even remember those conversations. The pre-sentence interview preparation, I'm sure I did it, but I don't recall preparing for it. Character letters or letters that attested to my character, I didn't even know what these things were. And yet I was, years later, I'm grateful to find out that I had, friends, other medical colleagues, deans of med schools who sent on their own without me asking letters to the court in my behalf. Narrative, which is it's a compelling autobiographical document of who you are. First of all, I was in no condition to write it. Second, I didn't even know anything about it. And third, even if I was, coached along it, I don't know how helpful I could have been. But maybe it would have been a great thing, or maybe it would have actually helped me deal with what I was going through. But I was just in a surreal state of mind. Participating in my defense, I wasn't that good at that either. And again, I was in a constant state of denial. Publications, while I was in practicing patients, Nails Magazine, owned by Baba Publishing, I was pretty much a contributor to their magazine frequently. But after a period of time, I wanted to make this transition from patient care over to helping individuals mitigate the damage of the sentence and learn from everything that I did wrong so that they didn't have to. And so a lot of this is preparation beyond the legal. I co-authored an article on the critical role of the pre-sentence report with others that was published in the Federal Lawyer 2021. And in, I believe, 2022, I also co-authored several chapters on representing people with dementia for the American Bar Association. What judges want to hear. Judges understand that crimes are often rooted in life circumstances. So we need to figure some way to share those moments and what steps we will take to change our lives. But if we do nothing, we need to humanize ourselves to the judge. And this can only be done with a compelling autobiographical backstory narrative. Right now, the Department of Justice has, without asking your permission, released your indictment and charges to the free world so that you sound like America's most wanted. The goal of this exercise of writing, your background, your backstory, is to humanize yourself to the court. These nuances of this personal background are not part of a traditional defense. It's not taught in law school. But this deeper connection, if you can go through this exercise, can help shape a more complete defense. And your attorney will understand this under U.S. Code 3553 when the judge imposes your sentence. Now, some attorneys, understand this and go through this exercise with you. Some attorneys are not aware of the significance of this. You document, and others can be several $1,000s an hour. Maybe it's outside of the scope of what you can afford, but it's important. The next person, pretty much the first important person you're going to meet is going to be, before your judge, it's going to be the probation officer who's going to conduct your interview. And I'll be referring to the pre-sentence interview often because the goal is to make this probation officer not your friend, but maybe your ally, because your judge is going to depend on their recommendation of who you are as a person. And they will probably also recommend a sentence length and potentially a placement. So it's crucial. And part of what makes up this pre-sentence interview, it's your whole background. But if we've already taken the time to draft a compelling narrative or background for you, then that probation officer is going to have all that information already before you actually meet. And if you have medical issues, the Bureau of Prisons is required, as all prisons, they require you to get basic health care, but it is basic. And so even if you have your complete medical record into your probation officer before you get to the interview, it's still not a guarantee that the services will be rendered. But at least, it's a start in the right direction and can potentially lead to grounds for compassionate release. Judges have known that, and they've said and been quoted that prison sentences are not supposed to be a death sentences. Some death sentence. Some judges understand that the Bureau of Prison is just not equipped to provide even the most basic of medical care. And they have been in turn forced to issue compassionate release orders. And so this is a big deal. It's been all over the news. The Bureau of Prisons is most correction facilities are all short staffed. And when they're short staffed, that impacts your medical care and or the first step back programs that you're going to get, because what the prisons have been doing is that it's called augmentation. And what that means is that if they don't have enough correction officers, they then use medical staff and teaching staff to go ahead and sub in as correction officers as they do their rounds. So there's several examples. Judge holds the Federal Bureau of Prisons in contempt for allowing the man to waste away of cancer. I will show this to you in either this YouTube or the next one, but suffice it to say that the federal judge ordered compassionate release several times. The warden at this particular prison did not let the gentleman go, and eventually they were forced to release him. So what did they do? They took him by van in a wheelchair, and mind you, this individual was, soiling himself. He had no ability for activities of daily living. He was on IV and medications most of the time, but they took him to the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, left him on a bench, not in the, I don't believe it was in the terminal, and then took away the wheelchair. And so he was there soiling himself. And if it wasn't for several good Samaritans that helped him, to the airport or into the terminal, then to the plane, it could have turned out worse than it did. As it is, he passed away soon after returning to his family. Another emergency motion for immediate release was on a defendant called Bovis. And this is basic stuff. His whole medical record was in his pre-sentence report. One of the medications, which is a cheap, widely used medication, is called hydrochlorothiazide. It's a diuretic. It helps with blood pressure. But and it's on the BOP, Bureau of Prison formulary. It's available. It's generic. But when he went in, the medical person at intake decided to reduce his dosage. He then had problems with that. And it went from a reduced dosage, not the dosage that he came in with the original prescription bottle. They changed the medication to a different type of blood pressure medication, which resulted in him having multiple transit TIA, or transient ischemic attacks, which resulted in emergency room visits at local hospitals. And when this got back to the judge through the family writing compassionate release request to the court, the judge had to let him go. Early release to home confinement. You should know this before you even get to your pre-sentence interview, but are you going to be eligible? And how is going to be, it's all in preparation for your pre-sentence interview. So I go through this pre-sentence interview multiple times. Your personal information you want provided for your interview before you even get there. And so I call this you're putting together your narrative. It's kind of like a brand. Tesla has their logo that they use for their cars. Wheaties is the breakfast of champions. The Olympics have their four, I believe, three, four, or five rings. You need to have, or it's recommended, if you need a medical referral, that starts with having all of your records organized from all of your physicians with their contact information, and then all of the medications that you're on checked and make sure that they're available with the Federal Bureau of Prisons, that they're in their formulary. Now, they may be in their formulary, but if they're in the part of the formulary that's called non-formulary, you're not going to get them. And so this is all important to understand, because when you gather all the information for your pre-sentence interview, it's going to include, by including rather, all of your medical history. This document can now act as a sort of as a medical referral, but it's a baseline for you legally. Your autobiographical narrative is everything about you and how you got to this point in your life. It takes time to write. It's the good, it's the bad, and the ugly of what you went through, possibly going back as far as childhood to today. It's not an excuse for what you've done, but judges, if you don't have this narrative, your backstory, your history included in the pre-sentence interview, then your judge is going to go to sentencing with a sentence in mind. And if all they're reading is your indictment, then it's not going to bode well for you. So you want to have all of this autobiographical material ready, reviewed, written. It can't be too long and it can't be too short. You can do it with video if you want. In addition to having character letters, which are letters of support regarding your character, potentially a letter from somebody willing to hire you. And yes, it seems premature for that, but at least if you have all this information available for the probation officer, they're going to think, after reading everything before they meet you, that you're taking this seriously, that you respect their time. And then when they meet you, they get to know who you are as a person. And this is big because, again, the judge depends on their recommendation regarding your sentence and placement. And so if they think that, you really have changed your ways, so to speak, you recognize that what you did was wrong, this goes a long way. And you'll be ready to what's called allocute during sentencing. What that means is that at some point during sentencing, the judge is going to ask you some way, somehow, if you have anything to say. This conversation is called your allocution. And it's not, most judges will ask you, but if you're able to allocute, it can definitely impact your sentence in a positive way by minimizing it. And so this should not be taken, you take this part seriously. Do you go to trial or do you plea? I'm not a lawyer, but whatever you do, trial or plea, this is a strategic decision between you and your attorney. And so the only recommendation I have is that you don't want to go in and irritate or aggravate or get the court mad at you. You just don't want any obstacles, because you may have to go back to that same judge for sentencing. My career transition from patient care to physician consultant. The nuances of your personal background are not part of a traditional defense. Most law schools, I don't believe, include in their curriculum the realities of life in prison, including the nuances of daily routines, the essential do's and don'ts that affect, your well-being. And so it's important to, as you begin to prepare this written narrative document, you're also going to learn, if you have engaged someone that has experience with this, what to do so that when you get into prison, you don't get into more trouble. You can't have a cell phone. You can't be on their phone system and ask for a three-way phone call with your lawyer. Well, these things can all get you more charges and maybe more time in prison. Judges are aware the crimes don't occur in a vacuum. So the goal here is how are you going to humanize yourself to your judge? Your probation officer and this interview is the most important meeting in your life. And he's the most important person in your life. And as I noted earlier, judges rely on their recommendations for your sentence and placement. Hopefully, you can turn this officer into your advocate, especially if you provide everything to them ahead of time so they can take the time to know you at your interview as opposed to getting all their questions answered at that time. Access to basic health care depends in part on your medical record. My career transition real for me has been a rewarding experience. I loved working with patients, and this has allowed me to draw upon my years of medical training, my personal experiences within the Bureau of Prisons. I'm grateful for my relationship with retired Bureau of Prison officials, as well as maintaining connections with medical colleagues I have nationwide. This journey has enriched my professional life and deepened my understanding in the importance that should you get want to work with me, but whomever, that this is crucial, and I'd be able to not guarantee, but work with you so that you're not surprised, because nobody wants to go into prison and be surprised or be disappointed, because disappointments and frustrations happen all the time. I'll help you navigate the legal system, which can be overwhelming. You have a good attorney. There are a couple of colleagues, rather a couple of clients that where they're on their own, as they read my directions for how questions to ask your lawyer, they on their own sought out and changed counsel. Prison policies, they expect you to know this. If we have a problem here on the outside, you call an attorney. Well, in the inside, if you have a problem, they want you to go through what's called the administrative remedy process. They expect you to know this. As a physician, I'm intimately familiar with how medical medications rather are provided. The Bureau of Prisons has care levels 1 through 4. 4 is hospital, 24/7, 365, and it's violent and nonviolent offenders. Care level 1 is someone who doesn't really need a physician. You go to maybe once or twice a year. Care level 2 is like most persons you can have blood pressure, maybe you have different types of cancers that are under treatment and they're contained. And you only have to see the doctor 4 times a year, let's say. Care level 3, these individuals need almost need a hospital setting, but they don't need 24/7, 365 care. So they maybe need help with activities of daily living, getting up, getting dressed, eating, feeding themselves, bathing themselves, etc. At sentencing, you can make a placement request. And honestly, you should try and make that placement request, have that prepared before you get to your pre-sentence interview. But essentially, it has 4 steps. Before the judge tells you your sentence, your attorney is going to ask the court if they're willing to accept the placement request. Now, hopefully, this step has already been done with your probation officer at your interview. Counsel then you want to request one prison, one facility, specifically by name. And then you need reasons, either First Step Back programmings that support your request or medical issues. Counsel then requests a surrender date, and if you can get it towards the 3rd week of the month, that's probably at best, a good time to get there, to be able to surrender. And lastly, counsel requests that if the Bureau of Prisons cannot make this placement request, that they notify the court in writing why they were unable to do so. So, in closing, several points. I provide physician-assisted preparation, and it doesn't mean that you have to have medical problems, but I encompass everything from before you get to the pre-sentence interview, the do's and don'ts of what is life inside prison, how to speak with your probation officer during the interview, what happens at sentencing, and then when you get out of prison, how to hopefully get you off supervised release early. Your life story is provided before you get to the interview. This way, you're going to gain the respect of and the appreciation of that probation officer. They're underpaid rather, and overworked and have no time. It would be, I would think, respectful for them for you to have all the information organized, collated, spell checked, and before they meet you, so they can fill out your report. And this includes all of your medical records, because we want to embed everything into the official pre-sentence report, so that now not only is it your pre-sentence report and it's official to the judge, but it also acts as a medical record for you. And then finally, it's an opening for your judge. If you've done and prepared a compelling autobiographical narrative, your judge may want to have a conversation with you. Federal Judge Mark Bennett has said here in the past that he's shocked how often he likes to have a conversation with the defendant. He's shocked how often defendants turn to counsel, and frequently an experienced attorney, he sees the defendant ask the attorney, should I say something? That was my position. I didn't know that they were going to turn, or the judge was going to ask me anything. And so this is your opening for your judge to have a conversation with you. And this is crucial because it's you can, and I've had clients that actually it helps lessen the sentence. And being prepared for this allocution or conversation with the court or the judge is up to you. I hope you found this helpful. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to all of my YouTubes. And should you need a consultation with me, please feel free. Do not hesitate to give me a call. Stay safe and have a good day.